English Easy Podcast.
Hello, learners. Welcome back to English Easy Podcast, your partner to learning English. Have you ever walked into a room and someone approaches you with a really friendly smile and suddenly your brain just entirely deletes every English word you have ever learned?
Oh, yeah, like the ultimate blank slate.
Exactly. Your palms get super sweaty, your heart rate just spikes out of nowhere, and your mind is completely terrifyingly blank. You're just standing there, desperate to sound natural, but you're totally overwhelmed by the fear of sounding completely weird.
Right, and it's such a visceral feeling, too. It happens to almost everyone who is navigating a second language.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst. But today, we are actually putting an end to that panic, right?
We really are. What we're going to do today is break down the actual psychology of that fear. We want to unpack the practical, step-by-step mechanics of talking to anyone in literally any situation with absolute confidence.
And if you're listening to this right now, I want you to know that today's deep dive is designed as basically a direct intervention for that anxiety.
100%.
By the end of this conversation, you are going to walk away with what we call a mental conversation toolbox. We're going to equip you with actual strategies for active listening, and we'll even give you the exact phrasing you need to politely escape a chat that has just dragged on way too long.
Which is such a necessary skill, honestly.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
But before we get into the literal vocabulary, we kind of have to look under the hood first. Mm-hmm. We have to fix what's happening inside our heads when that panic actually sets in. Why does my brain hit the pause button right when my mouth is supposed to hit play?
Yeah. So to understand that, we actually have to look at biology. What you're experiencing in that moment of panic is essentially an amygdala hijack.
Wait, an amygdala hijack? That sounds so intense.
It is, because your brain perceives speaking a second language under pressure not as a fun social challenge, but as a literal physical threat.
Wow. So my brain literally thinks I'm in danger.
Exactly. When you feel judged, your brain just floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone. And cortisol physically impairs the language centers in your frontal lobe.
That is wild. So I'm not just being forgetful.
No, not at all. You aren't just forgetting vocabulary. Your brain is actively blocking your access to it. It literally thinks you should be running away from a predator, not, making small talk at a networking event.
Okay, that makes so much sense. It's that classic fear of forgetting a word mid-sentence. You're halfway through this really great story, you have their full attention, and the main noun you need just vanishes.
Poof, gone.
Right, and because your cortisol is spiking, you just freeze.
But the difference between a confident communicator and a panicked one in that exact moment is, it's their ultimate goal.
What do you mean by that?
So a confident speaker knows that the objective is connection, not passing a grammar test. When that noun disappears, they don't just freeze up and apologize for their bad English.
Right, they don't let it derail the whole chat.
Exactly. They focus entirely on the meaning they're trying to share. They'll use hand gestures, or they'll describe the missing word using 5 other really simple words, or they'll just laugh at themselves.
That's such a good point. Sincere, slightly messy communication will honestly always build a better connection than cold, smart-sounding grammar.
Always. People want to connect with a human, not a textbook.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of the reason we put that immense pressure on ourselves is what I call the comparison trap.
Oh, the comparison trap is brutal.
It really is.
Yeah.
You walk into a room, you hear other fluent learners or native speakers using these advanced idioms, and human nature just kicks in. We subconsciously start ranking ourselves.
Right, like we're grading everyone in the room.
Exactly. We assume there's this social hierarchy based entirely on vocabulary. We decide we're at the very bottom, shrink down into our chairs, and just stay quiet.
And our brains are evolutionarily wired to seek out where we fit in a hierarchy. But in language learning, it is incredibly destructive.
Because we just give up.
Right. Yeah, we take ourselves out of the game before we even introduce ourselves. We treat social interactions like a theatrical performance where the audience is grading our pronunciation.
Instead of just an opportunity for 2 humans to connect.
Exactly.
I always picture speaking a new language like walking out onto a frozen lake. When you first step onto the ice, your instinct is to lock your knees. You go completely rigid, your shoulders are super tense because you're just terrified of falling.
That is such a perfect analogy. Because any skater will tell you that locking your knees and being rigid is exactly what makes slipping inevitable.
Right. If you just relaxed your stance, bent your knees a bit, and let yourself glide, you'd be totally fine. But realistically, confident people aren't just fearless, right? Like,
Yeah.
are they just naturally immune to this amygdala hijack thing?
Oh, no, that's a super common misconception. People think confident people never feel the fear. They absolutely feel the spike in heart rate.
Okay, so what's their secret then?
The difference is their internal narrative. The mindset shift here isn't about meditating the fear away. It's about adopting a very specific leveling belief.
A leveling belief, what is that?
You basically have to walk into that room and tell yourself, no one's above me and I'm not above anyone else. We are all just people trying to connect.
Wow, no one is above me and I am not above anyone else.
Yeah.
If you can truly internalize that, the whole hierarchy just dissolves.
Exactly. You aren't auditioning for their approval anymore.
That is so freeing. But okay, let's look at the practical side for a second. Let's say I've bent my knees on the ice. I'm relaxed. The fear is totally manageable.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. But then someone walks up to me and says, hey, how has your week been? And my mind is just a vast, empty desert. I end up just saying, good. And the conversation just dies immediately.
The dreaded one-word answer. Yeah, this brings us to the concept of lowering the cognitive load.
Lowering the cognitive load. Okay, tell me more.
Well, most people assume that great conversationalists are just endlessly spontaneous, like they just come up with things on the fly. The truth is, confident people prepare.
Wait, they prep beforehand?
Yes. We highly recommend building a conversation toolbox before you ever leave your house for a social event.
I love that idea. Lowering the cognitive load is such a vital concept for intermediate learners because, honestly, translating on the fly takes so much mental energy. What does preparing this toolbox actually look like?
It can just be a mental note or literally jotting things down on your phone before you walk into a networking event or a party.
Just simple things.
Yeah, ask yourself, what is one mildly interesting thing that happened to me in the last 48 hours? Like, did you try a new cafe? Did something funny happen on your commute? Did you watch a surprisingly good documentary?
Okay, so you find those little moments.
Right, and then you translate those 2 or 3 simple concepts into English in your head beforehand. You box them up.
So they're just ready to go.
Exactly. That way, when someone asks, how are you? You aren't scrambling to translate. You just pull from the toolbox and say, I'm doing well. Actually, I just tried that new coffee shop down the street today.
And you're basically handing them a thread they can pull on to keep the chat going.
Exactly.
But, okay, what if you genuinely have nothing to say about your own week? Or maybe you just feel way too shy to talk about yourself.
That's totally fair. In that case, you look outward to situational icebreakers.
Situational icebreakers.
Yeah, you do not need deep philosophical questions to start a dialogue. Just use the shared environment.
Like the weather.
The weather, the music playing in the room, the fact that the catering is running late. There's this great tactic of just observing a shared, mild inconvenience.
Oh, complaining slightly is a great bonding tool.
It really is. Imagine you're standing in a massive, slow-moving line for coffee at a conference.
Yes. Let's pretend we're at that exact conference. We've been standing near the back of the room by the snack table for, like, 10 minutes. I'll be the learner who bought my conversation toolbox. I'm going to try to break the ice without getting overly personal.
Sounds good. I will be the stranger staring blankly at the wall. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Hi there. I don't think we've met. I'm just hiding over here by the snacks because this line for coffee looks like we're waiting for concert tickets, not caffeine.
Oh, completely. It's like a marathon just to get a cup of tea. I'm doing the exact same thing, just waiting it out.
Glad I'm not the only one. By the way, I tried one of these little sandwiches while waiting. They're actually pretty good. How is the rest of the conference going for you so far?
It's going well, thanks.
Yeah.
Just trying to pace myself and meet a few new people without completely losing my voice over this loud music.
And scene. Notice what just happened there. I didn't walk up and ask you for your life story.
Right, and you didn't use complicated grammar either.
No. I just used the shared environment, the really slow line and the snacks.
And that's why small talk is just the warm-up before marathon. It is incredibly low pressure. You were just gently testing the waters to see if I was receptive.
And your laughter and that follow-up comment signaled that you were totally open to chatting.
Exactly. It completely removes the pressure of needing some brilliant opening line.
So, listener, I actually want to step out of the studio for a second and talk directly to you. I want you to pause and think right now. What is one cool or even just mildly interesting thing that happened to you this week?
Yeah, really think about it.
Did your pet do something ridiculous? Did you cook a new recipe that was an absolute total disaster? Take that thought, translate it into English in your head, and put it in your toolbox right now. Just have it ready for tomorrow.
That is the perfect way to build the habit. But, we really have to address the next phase here.
Which is?
Starting the chat is just the opening move. To keep a conversation going effortlessly, you have to transition from speaking to active listening.
Okay, here's my challenge with that, though. The whole theory of active listening sounds great. But if I am speaking to a native English speaker who talks really quickly, like 90% of my brain power is acting as a frantic dictionary.
Oh, totally. You're just trying to keep up.
Yeah, I'm translating their words in real time and using the other 10% to desperately script out my next response. How am I supposed to read the room and actively listen when I barely have the mental bandwidth to understand the vocabulary?
It's a very real struggle. It really is. But here's the thing. When you listen just to reply, you exhaust yourself. Confident people listen with intent to understand.
Listen with intent. How do I do that without burning out my brain?
To solve the bandwidth issue, you don't just listen to the dictionary definitions of their words. You listen to the melody.
The melody.
Yes, you pay attention to intonation patterns. Human emotion is universal, right? And it hides in the subtext and the pitch of how someone speaks, regardless of the language.
The melody of the sentence.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. What should we be listening for specifically?
So, pay attention to pitch contours. Does their voice go up at the end of a sentence?
Like they're asking a question.
Exactly. That's usually an invitation.
Right.
They're asking a soft question or seeking your agreement. Or does their volume suddenly drop and soften?
Oh, like when someone gets serious.
Right. People naturally quiet their voices when they are sharing something vulnerable, personal, or frustrating. They're actually giving you a cue about how to react.
I see. So if someone says, yeah, work has been really busy lately, and their shoulders drop and their voice gets quiet, they aren't just giving me a logistical schedule update.
No, not at all.
The melody of their voice is telling me they are completely overwhelmed.
Exactly. Which leads directly into the most powerful tool for showing empathy in a second language, which is mirroring.
Mirroring. Okay, let's unpack that.
When you catch that emotional cue we just talked about, you simply reflect it back to them.
Let's expand on this idea of mirroring. If I'm back on the frozen lake, right? Slipping on the ice, trying to keep my balance in the conversation. Mirroring feels like finding someone else on the ice who already has their balance and just linking arms with them.
Oh, I love that imagery.
You don't have to skate perfectly or do some complex routine. You just match their momentum so you can glide together.
That is exactly how the mechanic works. Mirroring is simply repeating or summarizing the core emotion or the basic fact of what your conversation partner just shared.
So it takes the pressure off you to invent a brilliant response.
Exactly. If they just spent 2 minutes talking about their chaotic vacation, you do not need to dive into a perfectly translated story about your own trip. You just link arms with them.
Right. So I could just say something like, wow, so you finally took that trip to Italy, but it sounds like the travel was completely exhausting.
Spot on. You are just reflecting their reality back to them. And it makes the other person feel incredibly comfortable.
Because everyone just wants to be heard, right?
Yeah. Exactly. When people feel heard and understood, they instantly perceive you as a fantastic, charismatic conversationalist, even if your English grammar in that specific sentence wasn't flawless.
That's amazing. It transforms the interaction from this stressful intellectual exercise into a genuine human connection.
You are no longer studying English, you're literally living in it.
Living in it, yes. Beautifully said.
Okay, so we've conquered the initial fear, we've opened our toolbox, and we've linked arms on the ice through mirroring. But let's talk about the life cycle of this interaction.
The life cycle, right, how it ends.
Exactly. Say it's been 20 minutes, you are tired, you have a meeting to get to, or you literally just need to grab some water. The conversation is just looping. I know so many learners who are absolutely terrified of being perceived as rude, so they just stay trapped in the conversation, nodding until their neck literally hurts.
Oh, the trapped nod. The inability to exit is a huge source of social anxiety.
It really is. The real test of your newfound confidence is actually knowing when and how to end an interaction. People either stay way too long or they panic, shout, okay, bye, and physically run away.
Oh my gosh, I've seen that happen.
Which, leaves a very strange final impression.
Both of those are painful.
Yeah.
We need the graceful exit. We really need to know how to close the loop in professional or social situations without just vanishing into thin air. So what are the actual practical phrases an intermediate learner can deploy to politely escape?
So the mechanic of a graceful exit has 2 very simple parts. First, a positive summary statement, followed immediately by a clear action.
Okay, positive summary, clear action.
Right. You smile warmly, you make eye contact, and you just say, It's been great talking to you. I should get going.
It's been great talking to you. I should get going. Wow. It is so clean. There is no elaborate fake excuse about needing to make a phone call.
Nope, none of that. It is honest and it's respectful. Another excellent variation, especially at a networking event where movement is expected, is using the X and Y structure.
The X and Y structure.
Yeah, so you'd say, I'm going to grab a coffee, but it was really nice catching up. Or maybe I'm going to go say hello to a colleague, but it was wonderful meeting you.
I'm going to do X, but it was wonderful doing Y with you. I love that. It leaves a positive, lingering impression. You are respecting their time and your own. It just demonstrates total grace.
And that word right there, grace, is pivotal. But, for many non-native speakers, simply pronouncing conceptual words like grace or genuine can actually trigger that exact amygdala hijack we discussed earlier.
Oh, because the pronunciation is tricky.
Exactly. You know the word, but your tongue just trips over it.
Well, since we are literally building a conversation toolbox today, let's take a moment to pull out a few of these heavier tools. Let's do some dedicated pronunciation practice.
I think that's a great idea.
We want you, our listeners, to feel absolute physical comfort in your mouth when these words come up.
So we have selected 5 specific words from today's concepts. We'll break down the mechanics of saying them, and we really want you to practice the muscle memory.
And I mean this literally, listener. Whether you are doing the dishes right now, commuting on the train, or just sitting at your desk, when we pause, I want you to speak the word out loud.
Let's start with the feeling that blocks us. Intimidating.
Intimidating.
Right. It means something that makes you feel fearful or nervous because it seems larger or more powerful than you. Speaking with a fast native speaker can feel intimidating. Notice the rhythm of the syllables. Intimidating.
Okay, listener, your turn to build that muscle memory. Repeat out loud after me. Intimidating.
Intimidating.
Great. The second word is the entire goal of our connection. Genuine. It means sincere, real, and honest. Like a genuine smile.
The mechanical trick here is the G. It's a soft J sound, and the ending actually sounds like win. Genuine.
Genuine. All right, try it with us out loud. Genuine.
Genuine.
Perfect. Now, for an idiom that happens when our toolbox is entirely empty, word number 3 is caught off guard.
Caught off guard. This means being completely surprised by something unexpected, like when a stranger asks you a question and your mind just goes blank.
Right.
It's a 3-word phrase that flows together. The off in caught sounds like caught, off guard.
Let's practice the entire phrase. Speak it out loud. Caught off guard.
Caught off guard.
Excellent. Now, word number 4 is our strategy on the ice. Mirroring.
Reflecting someone else's emotions to build empathy.
Focus on rolling through the double R sound in the middle. Mirroring. Say it confidently. Mirroring.
Mirroring.
Spot on. And our final word today, the absolute secret to a polite exit. Grace. Polite, smooth, and kind behavior in social situations.
It's just one syllable. Start with the hard G and slide into the soft S sound at the end. Grace.
Let's hear it. Grace. Fantastic job. Every single time you say these out loud, you are actually retraining your brain to view them not as threats, but as familiar tools.
It's so true. And when we look at the entire landscape we've covered today, we have really mapped out the complete life cycle of a confident conversation.
We really have.
It all originates internally by dismantling the comparison trap and adopting that core belief. No one is above me, and I am not above anyone else.
From there, we manage the cognitive load by preparing our toolbox. We have our 2 or 3 topics ready to go, or we just rely on the shared environment to break the ice without getting caught off guard.
Then we shift the focus entirely to the other person. We stop frantically translating our own next sentence, and we just start listening to their melody. We use mirroring to link arms with them, showing genuine empathy.
And finally, we protect the connection we just built by knowing exactly how to execute a graceful exit, closing the loop with a warm summary and a clear action.
It's basically a universal framework. The psychology remains identical whether you're speaking your native language or practicing your fifth.
It really is. As we conclude today's deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with one final thought to mull over.
Oh, I like where this is going.
We spend so much time obsessing over achieving perfect English, right? Terrified that our accents or our slight pauses will make people judge us. But consider this. Psychological studies on human bonding actually show that vulnerability builds trust far faster than perfection.
That is such a profound point. A perfectly polished, almost robotic delivery can actually make people feel guarded.
Exactly. When you stumble on a word or when your accent shines through, you are showing your human side.
Yeah.
You are signaling to the other person that you are putting an effort to bridge the gap between your worlds.
It shows you care.
Yes, that slight flaw, that vulnerability, makes you infinitely more relatable and trustworthy than someone who sounds like a pre-recorded audiobook. So maybe your imperfect English is actually your greatest asset in building a true connection.
Because confidence isn't the absence of mistakes. It is the willingness to make them in the pursuit of understanding someone else. And it's a muscle that just must be exercised in the real world.
It really is. So, listener, here's your challenge.
Yeah.
Sometime in the next 24 hours, take one tool from today. Use one situational icebreaker while you're waiting in line, or try mirroring a colleague's emotion during a meeting.
Just to see what happens.
Exactly. Just to see what happens when you let go of perfection and focus purely on connection. When you step onto the ice tomorrow, don't lock your knees. Just relax, link arms, and glide.
I love that.
Thank you for joining us for today's deep dive. We're incredibly proud of the dedication you bring to your learning journey, and we cannot wait to explore more with you next time. Keep practicing, stay curious, and have a wonderful week.